Hello, good evening, everyone. Just before we start, I would like to confirm that you can hear me. Kindly put on the comment section that you can hear me before we begin. Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayo. First, I would love to welcome you all to the webinar today. We are grateful for taking your time to join us. Our webinar is on the future of real estate simplified. This is brought to you from Malipo in partnership with alphabloQ. We have three people who are going to present today. That is Rashan, Trevor, and June. And in case of any questions, kindly feel free to comment on our chats. We have like 5 house rules, or 4 house rules actually. We would like you to just be open, participate, learn, and have fun. So I'll bring up Rashan to introduce what alphabloQ is and what we're going to learn about today. Thank you.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for taking some time with us today. We want to be respectful of your time, so we'll try to move, diligently but efficiently. So with that being said, I just want to kind of introduce you or introduce myself. My name is Rashan Campbell. I have been living here in Kenya for the past 3 years. I've had the opportunity to meet some really amazing young, smart minds in alphabloQ. I count them amongst those guys. The thing that I am really keen to speak about today is alphabloQ's innovation and how they are poised to really impact and disrupt how real estate is done here in Kenya. As a matter of housekeeping, Trevor, I know you're in the background listening. I think that you're going to have to handle the presentation because I don't have access to it. Oh, here it is. Okay, great. All right, so first and foremost, I kind of just want to introduce you to who alphabloQ is. And I'll just read the caption because this is important. It is Kenya's first regulated blockchain investments platform that aims to create wealth for Africans by enabling them to buy tokens of income generating real estate. Now, while all of that is important, I just kind of want to parse it out a bit and tell you what's the things that I think are really special. First and foremost, it is Kenya's first regulated blockchain investments platform. So this hasn't even really been announced yet, but this is a major accomplishment. Blockchain has just gotten the stamp of approval from the Capital Markets Authority. So that is a big, whenever you're first, you go through a lot of struggles. And so the guys here have been working hard to bring this to you. And I think a round of applause, if I could, is in order because that's a major accomplishment. The next thing I'd like to point out is that the platform aims to create wealth for Africans, okay? I'm sure you guys have all heard of the term FUBU, for us, by us. So you're the two gentlemen that I'll introduce on the next slide. They are two young Kenyans, and they are doing this from a place of passion and a place of heart. So as a bit of a gray beard, I'm proud. So I'm proud that there are two young guys who saw an opportunity in the market, and they are now capitalizing it. I'm going to slightly skip over the buy tokens part because I'm going to let Trevor jump into that. But let's get focused on the income generating and real estate part. I think that's a bit self-explanatory. So I won't spend too much time, but yeah, so these guys want to help you make money in real estate. As I mentioned, we have Trevor Kimani, who is the CEO, and he is a co-founder along with John. Trevor's background is in fintech. He's built lending, remittance, payments platforms, and he's really an impressive guy, and he's been doing this for a long time. John is equally impressive. He focuses more on the tech side, the data science side. He's built 8 platforms. And, I think he has something like 1 million users using his platforms. So The reason why I think that's important to state is that, we're talking about a qualified team. So you're in good hands. With that being said, I am going to jump right into what you all came to hear about. So alphabloQ is focused on income producing real estate. But when we look at that and we look at the problems that exist in the real estate markets here in Kenya, and in some cases the world, understanding those will help us to understand why alphabloQ is such an amazing platform, an amazing solution, and why you are actually in the right place at the right time. So just jumping straight into it, the main problem that you hear about when we start talking about real estate, whether it be non-owner occupied or investment real estate, or even owner occupied real estate that you'll live in, is the case of fraud. As someone who's not from Kenya, who wasn't born in Kenya, it's amazing how rampant fraud is. I think that I saw a stat where 42% of all real estate transactions involve some form of fraud. So again, when we're starting to really frame the challenges that we face in acquiring real estate, we have to start with the big elephant in the room, and that is fraud. There's a joke that I heard someone say: if you go into a coffee shop and say that you're looking to buy real estate, everyone in the place will raise their hand and say they can sell you something. I don't know if that's true, but I do know that real estate is important here. And there are also, because it's important in Kenya, there are always some unscrupulous people who are trying to get over on you, or get over on those who are looking to buy. The other thing that I saw when getting involved in this market here are just some of the inefficiencies in the market. I think that's related to Kenya still developing its tech infrastructure, its systems infrastructure, and some of the processes are just super manual. And when you have manual processes that are unregulated, it leads us back to the previous issue that I mentioned, and that being fraud. So how many times do you have to go to this office, and to get that individual to do their job in a timely fashion, you have to buy them a chai. And so then you go to the next office and you're looking at the same thing. And so now, something that, you wanted to execute on, the seller wanted to execute on, it now takes time. And then, so, again, we hear transactions taking, months that should have taken weeks. Lack of liquidity. So I just learned something the other day, that, Kenyan's land bank, because of, challenges that are perceived in the banking industry, they said, okay, look, many people were told, I'll invest in land. It'll appreciate, there's nothing going to happen to it. It's a good, solid investment over time. And then when I'm ready to, get access to my money, I'll sell it. In theory, that is a great idea. However, what it does do is it speaks to the issue of liquidity, or the lack thereof. So for example, if an emergency comes up, if you need school fees, if you need to take a trip out of the country really quickly, if anything happens, that land cannot be sold very efficiently or very quickly. That's a problem. And again, that's a problem that alphabloQ is solving, or has created a solution for. One of the next problems that we'll deal with is, especially in the case of a investment property, just the cost associated with either the asset or the mortgage. You're looking at like 18% in terms of an interest rate. Sometimes the tenor on the loan may not be that long. In terms of the asset itself, it just may be prohibitive. We have so many things that are going up. I mean, we're in an inflationary cycle right now. So, while all the prices of everything else is going up, our salaries aren't going up as quickly. So that can be prohibitive. That can cause real estate to miss the mark, to not be the wealth generator that it needs to be, or that it can be, just due to the cost. Again, alphabloQ is providing a solution to address that directly. So again, I'm going to just kind of harp on a few things that I'm sure many on this call already know. Why do we invest in real estate? I kind of mentioned one, the idea of land banking as a kind of a substitute for one's faith in the banking system. That's one thing. So there's a level of stability associated with it. If you are, in fact, generating income, it can be consistent. So if you have someone paying you rent to use your place, whether commercially or whether they're staying in there residentially, it can be a consistent source of income that you don't have to work too hard to do if you have the right people. Um, this is really appropriate in this point. It's a hedge against inflation. So as inflation rises, as things get more expensive to you, you can pass those costs on to your tenants. And then I think the last thing that kind of resonates with a lot of people is that it's tangible. Um, Unlike stocks and bonds, which are let's say at arm's length, when you invest in real estate, you can go to it, you can visit, even those pieces of land that so many people own. You can go walk on it. You can stick your hands in the dirt if you want to. So there's a level of tangibility to that many people care about. And just to align with the rest of the world, 65% of the world's wealth is stored in real estate. It is, in fact, the largest asset class in the world. So it's not wrong to invest in real estate. However, what we must find to do is we must find a way to be a bit more efficient in how we invest in real estate. And again, I'm building to the alphabloQ solution. Where I'm from, 67% of Americans have their wealth in real estate. So I would argue that the average American is still wealthy, but there may be the appearance of wealth. And I think that is related to the systems that America has established and has in place. And, with that being said, you know, those systems, while they may not exist in, the current forms or as they do in the US, companies such as alphabloQ are kind of jumping over those systems to kind of go to the next step. So instead of aligning or instead of trying to develop to the American standard, Trevor and John are developing to the standard that exceeds that. So again, another reason to be super excited. So Trevor and I were discussing this. There was a previous slide where he indicated that Kenyans didn't own real estate, and so I think we were parsing words because I think the Kenyans do own lots of land, but is it income producing? Is that land valuable? Is that land working for you, or are you working for it? How many friends do you know that, they have lands, they have to make sure that the fence stays up, they have to make sure that squatters aren't on the land. So in fact, which was once supposed to be an asset, essentially becomes a liability. And again, so even still building towards the alphabloQ solution. So at the risk of sounding like I was kind of anti-real estate, I want to make sure you understand that I'm bullish on real estate, and I'm bullish on real estate in Kenya, especially because again, it's the East Africa power hub. A lot of things must come through Kenya. It's a young and growing population. It is urbanizing rapidly, and again, obviously, we are growing. So one thing I just want to quickly do, and I'm going to ask John if he can hear me, is to put up the poll. I just want to ask everyone, how old are you? How old is the average person on this call? This question, this will be relevant later on in the presentation, but I just kind of want to get a feel. So if you can just take 2 seconds to kind of answer the poll. Oh, I see the numbers coming in. Okay. So a lot of you guys are under 35, and a lot of guys like me, about 40%, are above 35. So great. So thank you for that, John. And just getting ready to wrap up, I want to start talking about the solution, and then I want to introduce Trevor, who's going to talk about this thing called tokenization. So alphabloQ is a solution to the problems. So whether it be a problem of, I think we discussed some of the problems related to buying real estate, not having the money, whether it be the down payment, not having the ability to pay for that loan, even if you're able to get a loan while you're getting started, finding viable projects, high interest rates, title, we mentioned fraud, and again, monitoring the asset as in the case of raw land. So with that said, I'm going to ask you guys to answer one more poll while I prepare to introduce Trevor. And how many of you guys have heard of crypto or purchased crypto? Bring you guys over to Trevor really quickly so that he can kind of talk to you about the details of asset tokenization and why, again, you are in the right place at the right time. So it looks like about 40% of us have purchased or own cryptocurrency. About 33% have not. And then about another, almost a third or just short of a third are interested but have not. So I'll let Trevor speak about crypto and its applicability to alphabloQ. But before I do that, I just want to kind of welcome Trevor to the stage. He is the co-founder of alphabloQ. He is a young guy. He doesn't have many gray hairs yet. But again, I love his passion. I love his energy. And without any further ado, please, Trevor, welcome.
Hey, Rashan. I hear you about my gray hairs. I have gray hairs, man.
Not as many as me.
Yeah, thanks for that, and thanks for the introduction. I believe the poll is closed because I can't see it on the screen. So yeah, I'll just take guys through this, and thanks for taking the team or the audience up to here. So Rashan asked a question. He asked whether you've invested in crypto, and a lot of people are interested in crypto. And unfortunately, alphabloQ is not a cryptocurrency company. And that's a very important distinction that we ensure that we make, because people want to know what they're investing in terms of the assets that they're investing in. And basically, I want to explain to you what tokenization is. And that will give you a very good understanding of the difference between a cryptocurrency and a token. So alphabloQ is a tokenization platform. But you might be wondering, okay, so what is a token? Basically, a token is a digital, tradable representation of ownership rights to something in the real world recorded on a blockchain. So I'll go slow. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask, but I'll just say it again. So we're a digital tradable representation of ownership rights. So think about it like shares, but now it's on the blockchain. But these ownership rights, in alphabloQ's case, obviously is representing real estate. So I want to give you an example using Sally and Bob. Bob is the excited guy on the right, as you can see. Sally is the one who owns a token, and this token is within a blockchain network. So remember, I said a token is simply a digital, tradable representation of ownership rights. So Sally's token happens to represent ownership rights to real estate. Yeah. But the specific rights that she has to this real estate asset is rental income and capital gains. So when Sally buys this token, she gets the rental income into her bank account. She gets the capital gains into her bank account. So we saw on the backstage, we saw a question asking, what's the difference between alphabloQ and a REIT? A REIT is when Sally invests in a fund. So Sally puts her money into a pool of money, and then that pool of money, it goes into real estate assets. Whereas alphabloQ is simply a direct connection between the asset and the investor. Let us know in the comments if that makes sense. And in case you have any other questions, feel free to ask. And so once you tokenize this particular ownership rights, it can be traded. And the good thing is that because it's on the blockchain, it's easy to trade, and I'll take you through the benefits of this. But basically, what happens with this token is the token is still connected to the real estate, still representing ownership rights in, or rather rights in rental income, capital gains. But now when she transfers it, she transfers those rights to Bob. So the same rights to the same asset now belong to a different person. That is what the token does. That is what alphabloQ's token does. And I hope that makes sense from the perspective of the difference from a REIT and alphabloQ. So someone asks whether the tokens are equal to NFTs. Very good question. I see we have some crypto people in the audience. Yes, so it is similar to an NFT in the sense that it is representing this particular asset that you see in the middle. And this particular asset cannot be, the details or the identity of this particular asset is fixed. So if there's a different asset, it means the tokens would be representing a totally different identification or a different asset. So in that sense, it can be an NFT. But the good thing with the token itself is that it can be infinitely divisible, of which if it was one token representing a full asset, it wouldn't be divisible. That is the fungibility. In this case now, the asset is actually divisible. But I'll take you through that as well. So when Sally transferred the asset to Bob, remember this asset also has capital gains attached to it. So there's value. So she transfers value to Bob. And for Sally to get back the value in the real world of what Bob has received in the form of a token, Bob simply sends her money. So it's a simple exchange of value where she sends a token and she receives the money. And basically that's how alphabloQ works. But now the value of having this ownership rights on the blockchain is really because you end up having endless possibilities when it comes to trading and investing in real estate. So here's the first example of a benefit. If you guys have invested in or bought real estate before, you might know this tedious process of just literally doing a transfer. So you have to conduct a search, prepare and execute a deed of assignment, obtain governor's consent, pay statutory fees. In between this process, there's someone you have to bribe. In fact, a real estate transaction can cost up to 7% of the value of the asset. So not only does it cost that much, but it also takes months. In Kenya, it can take even up to 4 months just to finalize this transfer. Compare that with alphabloQ's transfer process, the exact process I just showed you before, where you literally just log in, select the number of tokens you want to buy, and you hit buy. So this really makes it very efficient when it comes to wanting to buy real estate, but also in trading real estate. And I'll get to that in a second. So take the example of the Burj Khalifa. I'm sure you all know this building. When it comes to accessing the value that this asset is able to generate, it's very difficult because number one, it costs $1.5 billion to build. So that was the cost to just make it happen. And just by simply someone like me who might want to travel to Dubai for holiday, I go literally walk into the lift, go all the way to the top floor, take photos, share on Instagram, who I'm on holiday, come back down. That one product for tourism in the Burj Khalifa is giving them $600 million a year, just a lift alone. So I said it costs $1.5 billion to build. The lift on its own for tourists is generating $600 million a year. What kind of a return is that? That's a crazy return. So as an investor, you'd want to access this to get the returns, right? But in order to own real estate in the Burj Khalifa, you will need, let's say for the 3-bedroom apartment, it's going to cost you $16 million. So hands up if you have $16 million. Well, obviously you don't. But not many people do. I think it's basically the Indian and the Russian billionaires that own apartments in this building. But they're getting a share of that income. So you can imagine how good of an investment it is. So the value of tokenizing is one of the benefits is that you can actually easily fractionalize it. Take the example of doing, sending someone money, giving them a tip, and then you end up needing change or something. Maybe it's not a tip, maybe you're paying for a drink or something, you need change. But when you use M-Pesa, you never need to ask for change because it's digital. So that's the value of digitizing and fractionalizing the asset using tokens. Another benefit is that you can now be able to think through your investments as a way to build passive income. And you can do this easily and affordably. Remember, this is an investment. You're trying to cut out any cost to make the investment as profitable as possible. And because alphabloQ actually manages the property for you, you're able to have it as a passive income generating asset. And we all know that real estate is known as one of the best passive income assets that you can have. So you start small, maybe with $100, go bigger, $1,000. You're learning how to invest, but as you're investing, you're clearing off your Netflix bill. As you grow the portfolio, you're clearing off your gym, even getting to the point where you can supplement and never have to think about paying rent ever again. Because real estate is a very stable asset and it's a good way to build passive income. On top of that, there's people who are really excited about real estate investing. So you might think you want to buy a 1-bedroom here, you want to do an affordable house here, you want to do a beach property there. But before you get there, you need to be a billionaire, basically. But when you fractionalize the asset, you can put 100,000 into an affordable house. You can put 100,000 into a beach property. You can put 500,000 into a grade A building. You can have fun with it. So fractionalizing the asset now opens up this possibility for you to actually play and have fun with your real estate portfolio on your own. Again, going back to the question of whether we're like a REIT, the REIT is like a manager of your fund, of your money, and they manage a fund. So they pool thousands of members or people's money into a fund, and then they go and do their real estate business. For people who are really interested in real estate, which is most of us, because we are like, hey, I like that apartment, you don't get that opportunity to actually choose the assets that you invest in specifically. You don't actually get the opportunity to see the difference between your 1-bedroom in Kilimani, your 1-bedroom on Thika Road, and the grade A building that you bought that is in Uganda. So you actually don't get the opportunity to have fun with your portfolio. So of course, alphabloQ ensures that we onboard the assets that are valuable and going to give you the best returns. So anything around that, you can play within those that environment and diversify your investment. And most importantly, you can diversify your investment affordably. And then liquidity. Let's say you do have the money to invest in real estate, but you're afraid because you have this 5 million shillings that you've been saving up. Maybe you've been, getting good bonuses, or you got, you won something in a betting competition or something like that. But are you going to use the full amount just to invest? What if you need that money for something? Personally, that's the reason why I believe alphabloQ is providing value, because when you want to invest, you don't want to tie up all your capital. So even in the case of an emergency, let's say you're owning real estate, you actually have to sell the whole asset. But if it's fractionalized, you can sell just the amount that is required for the emergency. Then even in the near future, you can come back and buy it back. So you see, it really opens the opportunities for you to, think through your problems and come up with innovative solutions using the wealth that you've been building over time. But in the best case scenario, which is what we always aim to achieve for you guys, is in the case of capital gains. So say you invested, maybe you bought a 2-bedroom that was off plan. It's been having a tenant now for 2 years. And you're like, hey, I'm curious to test out something else. And I have this 7 million shillings worth of real estate, but I want to sell it. The process of selling it means you have to find an individual that has 7 million shillings to buy. Whereas if you come to alphabloQ to sell that same asset, you're selling it to thousands of investors. Some have 100,000, some have 1 million, others have 10,000. It's a lot easier because they're all situated in one pot. it's a lot easier for you to sell your asset because the pool of people you're selling to is much larger. So again, this is how we've designed our platform to enable access to liquidity. Now, being a fintech guy, loans are very important to people's lives because either you use it to pay for school fees, you use it to build your different portfolios on investments in other asset classes or deal with emergencies. But it's difficult to get a loan because either you have to be with the bank for 6 months, then the bank is telling you, oh, you can only access this amount if you give us collateral. But since your assets are connected digitally and we have all the information on the asset that has been happening over time, we can be able to give you instant loans using your real estate tokens as collateral. So now this real estate is generating income. All you need to do is click borrow. That income now goes to the borrower so that now the asset itself can even help you pay for the loan. And again, this is instant because we've designed it in a way using our fintech experience to make it extremely useful for you guys to access these loans. Try get a loan today from a bank and see how long it takes. So I'd like to take you through a few real-world examples before we invite our developer partner, Brown to talk about their assets. But basically, it had started happening in the US. In 2018, the blockchain was used to tokenize the St. Regis Resort in US. And this allowed investors to purchase fractional ownership in the form of tokens. So in fact, all real estate tokenization projects are using tokens. They're not using cryptocurrencies. Another example is in Dallas, where a 250-unit multifamily apartment building was offered to the retail customers. So for $47 million, project worth $47 million, they're able to raise $6.5 million from investors. So if there's any developers in the audience, you can see how this can also help you raise that extra capital to finalize the raise for your sale or for the development using tokenization. And in Utah, with an entry level of $1,000, people were able to get a return of 16.8% on a multi-family townhome complex. So you see, if it wasn't for tokenization, they would not be able to access this investment asset class. And also, they'll not be able to choose the one that they want. If you look at the last three, those are the type of examples you could just say, oh, I want a bit of this, a bit of this, a bit of that, just to open up the horizons for you to actually be a real estate investor. So yes, and I'll take you through, I can see a lot of questions. What we'll do is hold them to the last slide where we have a question and answer session. But in the meantime, I will introduce or invite our partner. So Alan, you can come on stage and take the audience through your assets as well.
Okay, great. Happy to be here. I think your passion about tokenization, Trevor, is very evident, and thanks for taking us through that particular session. So mine is going to be very brief. I'm going to take you through an asset that is up for tokenization. It's called Imela Apartments. It's a 69 unit development split into studios and 1 bedrooms. The studios are 22 square meters and the 1 bed is about 35 square meters. And it's been developed on a quarter of an acre of land. And there's an eighth that is going to be provided as parking. The location of this development, I think I mentioned it, it's along the Northern Bypass. And for the context, for those who might not know Nairobi pretty well, so it's towards the northern part of Nairobi, along Thika Road, would be the closest landmark. And it is right opposite the Kenyatta University Referral Hospital, Teaching and Referral Hospital. So KU Referral Hospital is the second largest hospital in Kenya after Kenyatta National Hospital. It employs over 5,000 individuals from nurses, doctors, lab techs, etc. And it has a first like preeminent cancer treatment center within East Africa, and the parcel of land is also opposite a proposed WHO operations center. So if you've been following some news of in the last maybe 6 months, you would have seen some sort of tug and push between KU the university, and WHO in terms of the location of that facility. But that has since been ironed out, and they should be rolling out that project pretty soon. So in terms of where the development is at, as you can see from the screen, we are on the tail end of construction. Just about 3 months left for us to construct. We've been on site for the last 18 months, and it's been a very interesting journey for us. Quickly mention the pricing of an entire unit, and I'm sure Trevor will come back to it. We are pricing a studio at 1.6 million shillings. Currently, we only have studio availabilities. The others have been picked up, about 2 units remaining. And those are the units that will be available for tokenization. So I think Trevor will speak to it, but my understanding so far is that 1 shilling will be equivalent to 1 token. And the investors can be happy to come in on it. The location I've mentioned where it is, it's 10 minutes to Tatu City. When you stand on the roof, you can see Tatu City coming up. And it's important because there's a commercial mall coming up within Tatu City. So in terms of demand drivers, it's going to be critical. Then to JKIA, because it's situated along the northern bypass, it's very easy to get onto the eastern bypass and then get to the airport. So from the site, it's actually a 40-minute drive. And the eastern bypass has now been dualed, meaning it's a much faster drive. And then to CBT is about 30 minutes. So these are live pictures of the building, pretty close where the renders were. I'll post as well on the chat a feature that we had on the development on Property Focus on NTV, just to give you a better flavor in terms of how the building actually looks and the units look inside. In terms of the amenities that are going to be offered, so they look pretty basic, but in comparison to what the area offers, they're pretty solid amenities. And these are important for investors because it's what is going to ensure that the units are fully occupied. We're targeting a 9% rental yield, at least for the studio and both for the 1 bed as well. So that's a 12,500 shillings rental. And we have already started taking on bookings for tenants. So we are providing a steady supply of water in the development. We will have designated parking. Most of the developments around that area don't have sufficient parking. Access to major roads and highways, as I mentioned, we are the northern bypass. The eastern bypass is just a few kilometers away. And also access to demand drivers such as Tatu City and KU Referral Hospital. We're going to have, of course, Wi-Fi connection and like the probably highest tech security of a development within that area. So CCTV monitoring, controlled access as well. So we're going to have controlled access cards for the tenants just to ensure that it also eases the process of property management. I think that was basically it about the development. So the studio layout is as shown. So it's a pretty standard studio. It's probably what you'd have seen in the market. Entrance, you have the fridge there, you have the cooking area here, and a study. Large enough space for her to have a 1-seater, a nice dining round table, and maybe another seat. And then the wardrobe is there. And there's sufficient room to have a 5x6 bed. One of the distinct features about our development is the fact that we have quite big windows, and we've also ensured that every single unit has access to natural light. So we don't have any dark units. And then coming back to the design, a sufficient bathroom space where we separate the shower area and the toilet area, and then the wash hand basin. So a simple functional design that is compact, that is well priced, and that ensures that the investor gets the targeted yield. In terms of property management, we are going to be charging a service fee of about 1,000 shillings per month, so roughly under 10% of the monthly rental, just to ensure that the customers don't have the headache of property management. And I guess that's the whole essence of tokenization, easing the investment process into real estate, and most importantly, also easing the return as well back to the investor, so that it's not just a one way. So it's both ways. Yeah, so I think probably that's it. The one bedroom, I don't want to dwell too much on it because, as I mentioned, they are pretty much all sold out. But I guess for the benefit, it's a 34 square meter unit with an open plan kitchen. It has a balcony. Again, the windows are quite big, sufficient natural light. And yeah, I guess that's what I'll say about it. I presently don't have any units available for this. Yeah, so I guess that's basically it. If any of you want to come for a site visit, we are very open to that, so that you can be able to come and appreciate the asset for yourselves on site. Because as Trevor mentioned, these are real assets. Only difference, of course, is the mechanism of owning them. So we'd be happy to have you on site. So I'll hand it back to you, Trevor. Thanks. Or Roshan.
Hey, so thank you so much, Alan, for giving us that great description of that amazing project. The thing that I thought was amazing is just that, how all the one bedrooms are like already sold out. I think that's a testament to the housing need here in Kenya, the affordable housing need. And for guys like yourself who are tackling that, I think I'm very bullish on what you're doing. At this point, I'd like to keep you around just a little bit.
Sure.
We want to answer a few questions. Trevor has joined me back on stage. So I'm going to start with some of the questions that the audience has asked us. And I guess this one is going to go to Trevor. So the first question is there a difference between alphabloQ investments and REITs? And I know you spoke to this a bit, but I want to just kind of dive into it.
Yeah, so just think about a REIT as a fund, and the REIT manager manages your money. So whatever they do with their money is real estate related, and whatever income they make from that real estate related business, they give it back to you as a dividend. So this is you investing in a company that does real estate business. But alphabloQ simply enables you to invest in real estate. So you're getting direct ownership, or rather rights to rental income and capital gains on a specific asset. It could be apartment A1 or apartment D9, and that is your investment that you have a part ownership in.
Wow. So would you say that one of the benefits to investing using an asset tokenization platform as opposed to a REIT is specificity and by extension, possibly transparency?
Yes, very true. Because you see, a lot of this happens, even in SACCOs, this happens. You're saving your money with a SACCO, the SACCO says they're doing this business, then they give you a return. But how do you know what they're doing with your money? So SACCOs have actually gone down with people's money. Even REITs have gone down with people's money. We've seen what happened with Cyton. You don't know what they're doing with your money. But in this case, alphabloQ doesn't even hold your money. We just enable the swap of ownership rights, and that way you have a direct understanding of where your money is going and what it's worth. And also we give you visibility into the asset's performance. The client paid rent, you see it in your bank account. You also see it on your statement on the alphabloQ platform. The asset had a plumber that came into the house, and the plumber charged 1,000 bob. So you can see a work order with an invoice to the plumber, and so you know exactly what cost this asset is incurring. That even gives you a way to compare different assets in different regions.
Right.
So all that is possible with this.
Wow, that's a great answer. And Alan, and forgive me, man, if I want to put you on the spot just a bit. So along the lines of transparency, why did you decide to allow your asset to be listed on the alphabloQ platform? What is the benefit to you?
I guess when I reflect on my experience in real estate, transparency is one of the greatest inhibitants to unlocking investments. Yeah. And even in the current operation, I have tried to increase level of transparency by sending out monthly newsletters that fail on project progress, having a customer portal for customers to sign in. But there are still some certain regulatory processes that make it difficult, especially for diaspora customers to be able to invest. So we're talking about registering of leases with the government, and just whenever you deal with government, like, you just have to prepare yourself to spend a lot of time and money to be able to get what should be done. Yeah. So for me, I saw an opportunity that allows investors to seamlessly then get their money into real estate in a way that reduces the headache of dealing with the regulatory hurdles, particularly for foreign investors. And then two, also allows for a wider reach of investors, because the current setup is such that one investor has to take up 1 unit. But in this particular setup, it also sort of reduces the barriers of entry for different investors into real estate, because you can purchase a token that sort of matches your pocket. So you don't have to save up for an entire unit. You can be able to take up a piece of a unit and still get the return that should accrue to you. So I think those really offered compelling reasons to be able to offer that an asset to be tokenized. And I think it's seeming very promising.
Awesome. And just to go back to the poll, how old are you?
Below 35.
Below 35. Okay. So just trying to get a feel of who's adopting this, right? So I'm proud to say that I'm well over 35 and I've owned crypto. I'm bullish on blockchain. So if there are guys on this call who are in my age bracket, don't let these young guys have all the fun. Okay. So I kind of want to move to another question that I'm seeing here. What are the main risks? And I know that's kind of a broad question, but what are the main risks to investing? And I'll pose it like this. What are the main risks to investing in imela through alphabloQ? And Trevor, how about you take that first? And then again, I'd like to get Alan's spin on it after you've answered.
Yeah, and I'm happy someone asked that question, because that's someone who's thinking critically about the investment and the investment vehicle that's being used. So remember, we're just enabling this real estate asset to be accessible to you. So all the risks that come with a traditional real estate investment, let's say a tenant doesn't pay rent on time, maybe there's an issue in the building and how it was designed, issue with the surroundings, those are risks. And those are the traditional real estate risks. You cannot run away from those risks, because at the end of the day, all we're doing is providing a channel to this asset. But I like the approach that the Brown Cap team did with the imela project. The team that they worked with on the project also had a very good background in terms of understanding how to design it. I know Alan has an amazing background in terms of affordable housing. So that's also why we were keen to work with Alan on this particular project. And but just to make it clear, it doesn't abstract the risk from the real world scenario. If someone bombs it, the blockchain can't save it. What the blockchain actually solves is that now we reduce the risk of fraud. When you're talking to your lawyer, you're trying to reduce fraud. But in this case, you don't have to talk to a lawyer, because all the information of that asset is in the blockchain. When you're trying to trade that asset, you're trying to make sure that when you're making that purchase, the money is actually going to the, or rather when the money is actually going to the investable asset. It's not a fake product that is being sold. That is something we do. We ensure we do all the due diligence on the assets before we onboard them, to ensure that when you're investing, you're actually investing in a real asset. So some of those risks, we try to mitigate them by doing heavy due diligence on the assets before we tokenize it. Yeah. Maybe Alan, you can add to that.
Yeah, no, I think you accurately captured it. Yeah, I'm not sure there's anything more to add. Yeah, just the process. I guess reflecting on the process of onboarding this asset onto alphabloQ. Yeah, there was a thorough due diligence process that was carried out by Trevor's team and his set of lawyers. Yeah, so I think it mainly increases the level of transparency. It doesn't take away the underlying real estate risks. Yeah, I can't seem to trace any other risk that could come up from investing through alphabloQ for now.
Great. And I think thank you for both of those answers. So one of the next questions shifting, I'll shift a bit. Trevor, so someone's asking about tax benefits relative to the acquisition of real estate tokens.
Yeah, that's a good question. And similar to REITs, someone had asked about REITs before, this is a capital markets product. So your rental income has some tax benefits. For the seller, the stamp duty is also something that is exempt. So actually, your investment is very tax efficient. I can't remember offhand, Alan, the rental income, the traditional rental income tax is 14%.
Yeah, around about 10%, I guess. Let me just check. Yeah.
Yeah. So now, because it is a capital markets product, and the government is trying to push, participation in the capital markets product, there's a lot of tax benefits you get from investing in this asset class in this model. So again, you actually get more benefits investing in a fractional product from a traditional.
Awesome. I think we've covered all of the questions in the chat. I would just like to kind of just edify both of you a bit, starting with you, Alan. I mean, again, as a newcomer to Kenya, I know that affordable housing is a major issue. So thank you for tackling that. And then thank you, Trevor, for kind of combining and bringing a level of innovation to this. Because I think that this is just a start. For those of you who have already invested in crypto or invested in, let's call them blockchain assets, if you will, so we don't get stigmatized with that name crypto. There's going to be a lot of innovation in the space coming very soon. So in terms of, or you know what, Trevor, I'll ask you the question. What about financing? Are there any more opportunities that you perceive on the horizon relative to purchasing through a token as opposed to normal, the normal model?
Yeah, what I believe will happen in the near future is when more and more assets are on chain, the auditability of those assets becomes a lot more easier. And so financing the purchase of these assets makes it a lot easier. And that's one of the strategic things that we're providing to Alan's team, because the more these projects are online, the more he can prove that he's able to deliver a sound project and deliver stable income and deliver a good capital gains. So when a bank looks at that, they'll be like, okay, this is a no-brainer. We can even increase the amount that you can leverage on it. In fact, I think right now the imela project has access to mortgages, and that just shows that it's already been vetted by a bank. To be able to access these assets.
Wow. Okay. I think that's about all I have. I don't see anything else in the chat. Alan, is there anything you want to say? Anything else you want to say before I turn it over to Trevor to wrap up?
No. I think it's an exciting time to be within this space. And I guess just emphasizing that we are open. Imela is a project that's about to be finished. We're about to launch a second one in the next 2 months in Kitisuru, similar sort of concept. So there's going to be a pipeline of potential real assets that can come into tokenization. So even if sort of this opportunity sort of gets a lot of subscription, there is another one that would be up in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. Yeah.
Awesome. So what I hear from you though, Alan, really quickly is that things are selling out. So if you want to get in, this isn't the time to dawdle. You better make a decision or else you're gonna have to wait for a while. That's what I heard.
Yeah, that's what I was saying again. Different
okay. So Alan, thanks again for joining us on the call. Trevor, at this point, man, I'll turn it over to you for closing remarks. And thanks again, guys.
Yeah, thanks. So guys, yeah, thank you so much for your time. We try to keep it within 1 hour. I can see we're 1 hour, 11 minutes. And feel free to join our community. I can see more questions coming in. So we are always open to talk on our WhatsApp community. I believe you should be able to see a link on your top right to be able to join the community. And we have more question and answer sessions, even one tomorrow as well with the development team that Alan is leading. And as well, you can find a way to invest if you just simply go to the website and click get started. So thank you so much for your time, and we wish you all the best, and we implore you to start your real estate investment journey with us.